Just because somebody has potential doesn't mean that they're willing to step into it. Many of you are in seasons where you find yourself holding on to people out of the potential that they hold rather than seeing them for who they actually are. And I wrote this down and it says, holding on to potential will leave you hurting in the places that you no longer have any business being in. And I can relate to that for myself, because I remember at a point in my time, I was holding onto the potential of a person in a friendship, in a relationship. And that's what led me to my pain. That's what led me to feeling stuck in my life. That's what led me to being indecisive and not knowing which direction to go, because I was so unwilling to accept the person for the person that they were showing up as. But instead, I was holding on to the potential I saw within them, where I thought things were going or where I wanted things to go. And I also realized this, that holding on to potential protects you from having to make change. Holding on to people's potential prevents you from having to go out and build new relationships. It prevents you from having to go out and having to possibly be alone. It prevents you from having to go out and trust yourself to be okay without certain people that you might have relied on for so long. When people come in your life and they play a role in your life for so long, and you see the good version of themselves, you see who they are capable of being, sometimes it makes it hard to believe when they switch up, when they show their true colors, when they change into a person that no longer aligns with who they originally were. And when you become unwilling to accept that, again, you end up waiting for people. You end up settling in relationships. You end up holding on to people's potentials and who they said they were going to be, who you thought they were going to be, who you expected things to turn out a certain way. And again, holding onto that potential keeps you taking the hits from who they are actually showing up as, from the person that doesn't put effort into you, from the person that isn't interested in you, from the person that makes you feel like you need to be a people pleaser, from the person that gives you a bunch of false promises, from the person that says one thing and then does the complete opposite. And it keeps you just taking those blows, taking those hits time after time, solely because you can't find acceptance for the fact that that's who they are. And instead, you want to hold on to who they could be. You want to hold on to the potential of who you thought they're capable of growing into, you're the person you know that they once were but aren't now. And so you have to realize that the longer that you hold onto that potential, the longer you allow yourself to remain stuck. And you have to realize that potential, fear, and trust require you all to believe in things that do not yet exist. And so potential requires you to invest into or believe that somebody's capable of becoming somebody that they aren't right now. Fear, you're believing that if I let this person go, then all these different things can happen that have yet to happen yet. Trust within yourself to be able to move on without them, to be able to move forward, to trust that you'll be able to replace them, quote unquote, or not, maybe replace isn't the right word, but find another person for you, to be able to find new friendships, to be able to build new relationships, to be able to be okay on your own. That trust requires you to believe or trust in something that, again, is not yet here. Real quick, if you feel like you're in a season of your life where you've been holding on to people's potential and it's been keeping you stuck, and holding on to people who probably, or you already know, are no longer for you, be sure to check out my Let It Go coaching down below in the description, as that might be something that's for you. But anyways, back to the video. And so all three of those things require you to believe in something that isn't here yet, but you're choosing to invest that into potential. And it's no different from NFL players or professional athletes, where you might spend high on a draft pick and you might believe, hey, I believe this kid could become something, but it doesn't always work out. You see that every single day. You see that every single year, of how people have potential, but that doesn't mean they're going to be willing to make the choices. That doesn't mean they're going to be willing to put in the work. That doesn't mean they're going to have the same mindset as you. That doesn't mean that they're going to meet your expectations or your standards. And so sometimes there comes a point in time where you have to stop holding on to potential, and the potential for who people can grow onto, the potential for who they say they're going to, the person that they're going to be, the potential for what you expect to come out of the situation. And then you have to come to acceptance of, who is this person right now? Who does this person show up as on a day-to-day basis? And at some point in time, you have to say, this is just who they are at this season in their life. Does that mean that there's still not potential for them to make changes and grow into a different version of themselves? Yes, but that doesn't mean it's your responsibility to stick around waiting for them to become that person. Because during that waiting season, you have to be the person that endures the version of themselves that they're showing up as right now. The version of themselves that maybe doesn't value you. The version of themselves that maybe disrespects you. The version of themselves that maybe makes you feel left out and doesn't make you feel like you're loved and appreciated. And so you have to have an honest question with an honest conversation with yourself of, is it worth staying here? And then you have to own that choice. Many of you don't even realize the role that you play in your own suffering, the role that you play in your own pain. From making the choice, making the decision to keep giving people chance after chance, to keep holding on to people's potential, to keep investing in the people who have already shown you who they are in the season of your life, but you want to hold on to, again, who they could be. And so you have to realize that all the pain that you're enduring at a point in time is all because of you and you making that choice, because you're choosing to stay and hold on to all these things instead of, again, seeing it for what it is and understanding that, hey, this person or the situation isn't for me, at least right now in the season of my life. And being okay with that and being willing to walk away. And again, having that trust that I'll be able to find my people. That if I truly trust in God, if you're a believer in God, if I truly trust that, if I truly have faith in God, if I truly have faith within myself, if I truly know that I can carry my own weight, then I know I'll be able to walk away from the situation, although it might hurt, although it might sting, although I might need to heal from it. But having that faith and that trust that I'll be able to walk away from this situation and still be okay eventually is a mindset that you carry with you and that you act on, rather than, again, allowing yourself to settle out of a fear of, oh, maybe I won't find them again. Or again, holding on to that potential and thinking that if I let this person go, that I missed out on my person. But again, you think you're missing out on someone or something that has yet to even exist. It's all potential. It's all fluff. It's all an expectation. It's all false words and false promises and a false hope in which they maybe gave you. And so at some point, again, you have to see people for who they are and make a decision of, is this some place or someone that I need to stay with or continue to deal with? Or is this something that I have to gain the courage to walk away from? And trust me, I've been there where I saw the potential within a person and I held on so tightly to the potential and how I thought things were gonna go. And I would genuinely say that was the worst moment of my life, because I kept giving that person chance after chance. I kept making excuses to keep them around. I kept trying to prove myself. I kept trying to chase after them, to get them to fit into their own potential, to get them to own the words in which they had given me. And at some point, I had to come to the realization of, you have to allow people to be who they are. People can even know their potential. One thing I've realized is that some people can know their potential. Some people can know where they need to make their own changes. Some people can understand the impacts of the person that they are and how that affects you, but still choose to remain that same person because that's who they're comfortable being. You have to understand that change is an uncomfortable action to make, because it requires you to leave behind the version of yourself that you became comfortable with. And so some people recognize, me being this version of myself, it affects the people around me. It's affecting this relationship. It's affecting this friendship. But that doesn't always mean that they're going to be willing to make those changes, because that change can be sometimes too uncomfortable to where they just settle for being who they've always been, because that's the easier decision to make. And that's the most comfortable decision to make that doesn't require them to go through hardship, to be intentional about the choices that they're making, to actually have to become self-aware of their actions and the impact that it's having on the people around them. But again, you also have to understand that that's not your responsibility to fix. Because believe it or not, I've had people literally come into my life that I gave chance after chance after chance. And I remember the reason I even gave those people chances was because they told me themselves, yeah, this is my bad. That was my fault. I messed up. And I recognize what I did wrong. I'm making changes. I'm going to therapy. I didn't hurt at all. And then they continue, maybe let's say a month or two down the road, to revert back to that old version of themselves, to sabotage certain relationships, to go back to the ways in which, made me disappear in the first place. And so you have to understand sometimes that people's potential doesn't mean it's worth investing into to put up with the person that they are right now. Because sometimes who they are right now is too much for you to handle, for you to be waiting for that change to actually happen. Because who knows when people actually are going to make that change? Who knows if they're ever going to make that change? And that's, again, not your responsibility to fix. It's not your responsibility to wait around for. And at some point, you have to choose yourself and see people for who they are rather than who they could be. Because I understand, sometimes it's hard to comprehend how people become a version of themselves that previously wasn't the person that you knew them to be. And so sometimes you meet people as somebody that, does care about you, that does put effort into you, that is somebody that you feel you can tell any and everything to. And then one day that just changes. And sometimes that can become a hard thing to accept, where it feels like I know who you can be, but why are you no longer this person? After a while, we're holding on to hoping that, hey, maybe they'll eventually go back to that old version of themselves. Maybe this change, maybe this person that they are, there's just something wrong, and I just need to be patient with them. And eventually that patience has to run out, and you have to see reality for what it is. Because again, people do change, but sometimes those changes aren't always made for the better, or sometimes those changes don't always align with the person that you need them to be. And again, the longer that you push off that acceptance, the longer that you hold on to that potential and that delusion of they're going to change, things are going to work themselves out, people are going to go back to that old version of themselves or become a better version of themselves, or they're going to make the changes that they said they were going to make, is the longer that you allow yourself to settle in that space while you're the one that has to go through the pain, and you're the one that has to deal with who they are in this moment and everything that comes with that. But I love and appreciate you guys as always. Be sure to leave a like as well as a comment on some things that you took away from this video, and if you enjoyed it, as well as subscribe to the channel. And I'm gonna catch you guys in the next video. Peace.